All right, family. Hope everyone's doing well this evening. So the lesson for this evening is the law of sacrifice and Christ. All right. So the goal is by the end of this lesson, you have a greater understanding of what is the significance of the law of sacrifice, or the purpose of the law of sacrifice, and what does that mean in correlation unto Christ. So let's get Matthew chapter 9 and verse 13. The book of Matthew, chapter 9 and verse 13.
Matthew chapter 9, verse 13. But go ye and learn what that meaneth. I will have mercy and not sacrifice.
So he says, go ye and learn what that meaneth. So I will have mercy and not sacrifice. Keep that in mind. So what is the law of sacrifice? That's a key thing that we're going to get. What is the significance of it? So let's get Exodus chapter 20. Let's get the book of Exodus chapter 20. And let's read verse 24 through 26. All right? It's the book of Exodus chapter 20. And we're going to read verse 24 through 26.
Exodus chapter 20, verse 24. An altar of earth that thou shalt make unto me, and shalt sacrifice thereon by burnt offering, and thy peace offering, thy sheep, and thy oxen. In all places where I record my name, I will come unto thee, and will bless thee. 25.
Right. So an aspect where, in Danielle, may you bring up that slide? So he said, the Most High is saying, look, make you an altar. Make you an altar of earth. So an aspect where, Danielle, may you bring that up real quick? So as far as when you see an altar, there are different types of altars you can make. So you see in these particular images, and I'll help you out with a minute, get my laser pointer. So this is generally a replica of the altar, the one you see on the right, where it says Tabernacle of Moses. This is more so an example of the altar that we would have. So the altar that burnt offerings will be offered upon. The other example is one that you can just take stones. It's not as aesthetic as the other one, but generally you can take stones in which no man has laid a tool or instrument upon, and you can make those and use those to make an altar. And that altar was used to make sacrifices, to make those animal sacrifices. So we'll go ahead and continue reading verse 25 and 26.
25. And if thou wilt make me an altar of stone.
So if you will make an altar of stone, read.
Thou shalt not build it of hewn stone. For if thou lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast polluted it.
Right. So the Most High, he didn't want you to take a chisel or hammer and to make these stones into a particular shape. He wanted you to look, go grab the stones, put them together, and that's what you got. That's your altar, all right? He wanted it unspotted, unblemished. So like the ones you see on the left-hand side. Read on.
26. Neither shalt thou go up by steps unto my altar, that thy nakedness be not discovered thereon.
Right. So similar for those who may have came out of the Christian church, which we say the bootleg church, because it doesn't teach according to the doctrine of this Bible. So many times you see they have an altar, right? Not knowing that that very altar that they have was used for animal sacrifices. So, which in this day and age, and as we'll get later on, you no longer have to give those sacrifices, which makes that altar null and void, all right? So, in the other aspect being that, the other aspect with that altar is that you're not even supposed to have steps leading up to that altar. So, Most High said, look, no steps. So now let's get the next part. Let's get Leviticus chapter 1, and we're going to read verse 1 through 17, all right? We're going to get, with this particular lesson, we're going to read and actually get in depth. What is this law? What were the requirements of this law? We want to get it in depth, all right? So read Leviticus chapter 1. We're going to read this whole chapter. Read on.
Leviticus chapter 1, verse 1. And the Lord came unto Moses and spake unto him out of the tabernacle of the congregation, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, If any man of you bring an offering unto the Most High.
So, of course, if man, speaking in general, it would be man or woman that brings forth an offering unto the Most High. Read on.
You should bring your offering of the cattle, even of the herd, of the flock.
So he's saying, look, if you're going to bring this offering, it has to be of the herd. It has to be of the cattle, the sheep, the goat, the lamb. Read on.
Verse 3, if his offering be a burnt sacrifice of the herd, let him offer a male without blemish. He shall offer it of his own voluntary will at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Most High.
So if you're bringing forth this particular offering, if you read the first 7 chapters of Leviticus, it goes into all of the different types of offerings that you would give, okay? So you have the burnt offering, the meat offering, you had the peace offering, you also had your first fruits, you had the sin offering, so you also had your trespass offering and things of that nature. There are many different types of offerings that you would give. But this particular chapter 1 is giving an overall gist of these offerings that also applies to others that you'll read later on in these next few chapters. Read on.
Verse 4, and ye shall put his hand upon the upon the head of burnt offering, and it shall be accepted for him to make an atonement for him.
To make a what?
Atonement for him.
So keep that in mind. It shall be made. These sacrifices, one of the chief purposes, which we'll get, was to make an atonement. Read on.
Verse 5, and he shall kill the bullock before the Most High, and the priest.
And the who?
The priest.
The who?
Priest.
And the priests, read.
Aaron's sons.
Aaron's sons. It wasn't all of the tribe of Levi that were priests. The tribe of Levi was given unto Aaron and his sons to help them minister in the priesthood. Because originally, when you read the history, the Most High was going to take the firstborn of every tribe. But instead he said, you know what? I'm going to just separate the Levites. The tribe of Levi shall be separated unto me and will serve and minister unto me in the priest's office and will help the Levites, Aaron's sons, minister unto me. So, and when you read that each son, each family of the Levites was set aside to a different son of Aaron and had a particular obligation or duty that they would help with. So read on.
Aaron's sons shall bring the blood and sprinkle the blood round about upon the altar that is by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. Verse 6, and he shall flay the burnt offering and cut it into his pieces. And the sons of Aaron, the priest, shall put fire upon the altar and lay the wood in order upon the fire.
So, and that's what you're dealing with when they do. That's what the sons of Aaron, they would do. This was all regarding the priesthood. The priests would be the ones to give and deal with all of these offerings that were made, all of these sacrifices, all these will offerings that were made. And it was something that the people, as we're reading, they would bring unto the priest. I would take my offering, whether it was something I want to bestow upon men. Good fortune, the Most High, he looked out for me. I want to say thank you and give this unto him. I would go into the priest and they would do that. Or if I messed up, I transgressed, I would take it into the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, let the priest know, man, I messed up, man. I ate some pork, so I'm sorry, man. I was, whatever it is, I give my animal sacrifice. Or, you know what? I stole something. I stole from my brother. I'm sorry. Let me bring that sacrifice. All right. So continue reading.
Verse 8, and the priest, Aaron's son, shall lay the parts, the heads, the fat, in order upon the wood that is on the fire which is upon the altar. But his inwards and his legs shall he wash in water, and the priest shall burn all on the altar to be burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto the Most High.
Right, and it would burn these things, and it would become, that's the part of the sacrifice. So even today, modern day, when we give like those sacrifices, so to speak, when people have barbecues, those are oblations, So when the Most High, he hates those oblations that they make when they, cook the swine's flesh and things of that nature, you're sacrificing abominable flesh. The Most High, he doesn't like that. So all these things were clean things that were sacrificed and that were burnt offerings. Read on.
Verse 10, and if his offerings be of the flock, namely of the sheep, of the goat, for a burnt sacrifice, he shall bring it a male without blemish.
Right. That also goes back to how Christ was that last sacrifice. He was a male without blemish. All right. So he was a male and he didn't have any sin. All right. He was a perfect individual unto the Most High. So that doesn't mean necessarily like he ain't never got in trouble by his parents or he ain't never got a spanking. It deals with according to the Most High and what the Most High deemed as far as him being perfect. Because many of us, we think being that perfect man or that perfect woman is just being flawless, absolute in everything. You don't never make a mistake. You don't never do anything to offend. That's not what being perfect is, according to the scriptures, all right? So that's when we deal with, we ain't perfect. Ain't nobody flawless, all right? The Most High he's not looking for flawless, all right? He's looking as far as moving according to what it is that I told you to do. So keep that in mind, all right? So read on.
Verse 11, and he shall kill it on the side of the altar northward before the Most High. And the priest, Aaron's son, shall sprinkle his blood round about upon the altar. And he shall cut it into his pieces with his head and his fat. And the priest shall lay them in the order on the wood that is on the fire which is upon the altar. But
Right, and which I didn't bring out. So even though we read earlier, okay, bring your cattle of the herds, but you also had, if you didn't have cattle, you could bring a goat, you could bring a sheep. These are also things that were adequate for you to bring for sacrifices, all right? Read on.
13, but he shall wash the inwards and the legs with water, and the priest shall bring it all and burn it upon the altar. It is a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto the Most High.
Read.
And if the burnt sacrifice for his offering to the Most High be of fowls,
Be of what?
fowls,
Read.
then he shall bring his offering of turtle doves or of young pigeons.
Right, because those are also lawful animals to eat, all right? So not that many of us, we don't even want to mess with no city pigeon, but if you had to, it's lawful, all right? So people say, I don't want a pigeon, I want a dove. It's clean, it's white. I don't want them pigeons. They be looking all dirty, greasy. You say, I want a clean one, huh? I want a dove. But nevertheless, these were also things that you can substitute because the Most High, he said, look, it's kind of like, Most High, he OG with it. He said, look, I got payment plans set up for you. Look, if you can't afford that cattle, it's all right. Just give me a sheep. Or get me a goat. Look, you can't afford one of them. You can't get a ram? All right, look, we'll get a turtle dove. Or get a pigeon. That's all right. You know, you can get a pigeon. Come on now. You got it for a pigeon. Stop playing. You got something, don't you? So it's an aspect where he set that up. He set up options. Read on.
Verse 15, and the priest shall bring it unto the altar.
And who shall bring it?
The priest shall bring
So
it.
all this, are you seeing any other tribe being involved with these particular ordinances? You're seeing the priests, right? So you're dealing with the priests, the sons of Aaron, and Aaron being of the tribe of Levi. This wasn't even anything that all of Levi would do. As you can read and as you see, it's specifically the sons of Aaron. All right, the sons of Aaron. Read on.
and wring off his head and burn it on the altar, and the blood thereof shall be wrung out of the side of the altar, and he shall pluck away his crop with his feathers, and cast it beside the altar of the east part by the place of the ashes. Verse 17, and he shall cleave it with the wings thereof, but shall not divide it asunder. And the priest shall burn it upon the altar, upon the wood that is upon the fire. It is a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto the Most High.
Right. So just like I was saying, so you can bring a bull, ram, goat, dove, pigeon. Let's get Leviticus chapter 4, and let's read verse 1 through 3. Let's get more into these sin offerings, all right? Because this is what these animal sacrifices were used for. Read on.
Leviticus chapter 4, verse 1. And the Most High spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a soul shall sin through ignorance against any of the commandments of the Most High concerning things which ought not to be done, and shall do against any of them.
So it's an aspect where it's letting you know that, look, if you have it to where you have someone who sins through ignorance, they just didn't know, all right? But it's an aspect where even though you did not know, you're still held accountable. All right, that's why it's saying it. Look, this person may not have known this particular act was wrong, but yet and still, guess what? No different than when you look out in this government system, you could be speeding down that street, but guess what? You hit a whoop whoop. They pull you over. Officer, I just didn't know I didn't know the speed limit. I didn't see the sign. You can still get that ticket. All right, you still look. At the end of the day, you know you was going too fast. You know damn well ain't no 70-mile-per-hour sign right here on the street. You going 50 in a 25 zone, something wrong. You know, so it's an aspect where, look, same thing with the Most High. He's like, look, you still held accountable, all right? You still offended. You still messed up. So read on.
Verse 3, if the priest that is anointed do
If the
sin,
who?
The priest that is anointed do sin according to the sin of the people.
Because even the priests, even they may mess up. You know, because even as you read with certain individuals, certain priests, and that's what happened with the priesthood too, it became polluted because the priesthood started becoming more wicked. All right, they started leaving off of the priesthood, and you'll read about different individuals that, you know, like for example, y'all seen that movie, The Book of Eli, right? So, well, in the history, you can read how Eli, his sons, even though Eli was righteous, his sons were wicked. You know, even though Eli was righteous, his sons were wicked. And they were being very wicked when it came down to the priesthood. So they were actually robbing the people, and they were using the women. So they were having to do with women, using the women, committing adultery, and they're also robbing the people, similar to, man, like your bootleg preachers of the day. That's how they was moving. All right, even though their father was a very righteous man who was very honored and loved, his sons were wicked as hell. All right, so and sometimes it's like that. But read on.
Then let him bring forth his sin, which he hath sinned, a young bullock without blemish unto the Most High for a sin offering.
Right, a young bullock without blemish for a sin offering. Jump down and read verse 13 to 14.
Verse 13. And if the whole congregation of Israel sin through ignorance, and the things be hid from the eyes of the assembly, and they have done somewhat against any of the commandments of the Most High concerning things which should not be done, and are guilty.
And are what?
Guilty.
So you messed up. You may not have known, but read.
14. When the sin which they have sinned against it is known.
Is
then
what?
Known.
Read.
Then the congregation shall offer a young bullock for the sin and bring him before the tabernacle of the congregation.
Right, because now you're still in error. You still have to atone or repent for that offense that you made against the Most High. Let's get Leviticus chapter 2, verse 1 through 7. And then we're going to get verse 11, 13, and then chapter 6, 16 to 23. We're going to be jumping around a little bit, so just stick with me, all right? Let's go. So,
Follow your lead.
Let's read that. Leviticus chapter 2, verse 1 through 7.
Verse 1. And when any will offer a meat offering unto the Most High, his offering shall be of fine flour.
So this is also things that correspond to many of these other offerings as well, all right? They have many similarities if you read the whole chapter. Read on.
And he shall pour oil upon it and put frankincense thereon.
So you got to get the flour, got to get the oil. Read on.
And he shall bring it to Aaron's sons, the priests, and he shall take thereout his handful of the flour thereof, and of the oil thereof, with all the frankincense thereof, and the priest shall burn the memorial of it upon the altar, to be an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto the Most High.
Read.
And the remnant
And the what?
The remnant of the meat offering shall be Aaron's and his sons.
So and that's what happened with all of these sacrifices. The remnant of it, what remained was Aaron's and his sons. So it's not a situation where it all got burnt up and like, damn, we got to eat this burnt up meat. That's charred right there. Nobody want that. Yeah, like it's a punishment. I got to eat it. Nah, that's not what it's dealing with. Because these sacrifices, these offerings, where all they were doing was cooking the food. That's it. They were cooking it. And when it was cooked, that remnant, what was left after it was cooked, that's what they ate. So that's what it's dealing with. So those burnt offerings, like I said, it was sweet savor of the Most High. You put that on the grill, it's like, yeah. All right, I like that. All right, go ahead. Let my priests eat. Let the Levites eat. You know, so read on.
It is a thing most holy of the offerings of the Most High made by fire. And if thou bring an obligation of a meat offering baken in the oven, it shall be unleavened cakes of fine flour mingled with oil.
See that? The Most High said, look, it got to be unleavened cakes. Don't bake it with no leaven. All right, read on.
Or unleavened wafers anointed with oil.
And he said, make sure you put that oil on it. All right.
Facts.
Hey, make sure you put that oil. Read.
Verse 5. And if thy obligation be a meat offering baken in a pan,
Bacon in a what?
In a pan.
See that? Hey, we bake stuff in a pan. Read.
It shall be of fine flour unleavened, mingled with oil. Thou shalt part in pieces and pour oil thereon. It is a meat offering. And if thy obligation be a meat offering baken in the frying pan.
Ooh, in the frying pan. See that? Y'all thought y'all was doing something new. I'm going to fry me up some chicken, girl. That ain't nothing new. Your forefather, they was frying. They knew that. Why you think you like fried chicken like that? Why you think it's in your spirit?
Facts.
That's how the Most High did it. It's in your spirit.
Facts.
Blacks and Latinos, you love that food. Love to fry and grill up that. Why you think you love grilling so much? You know, Most High said, look, y'all my people. This is what I had y'all doing. That's why y'all love the barbecue and all this stuff and just get together and just you be seeing our people, man, they be lined up all across the street, man. Barbecuing, grilling, whether it's chicken, barbecuing. Read on.
Frying pan, it shall be made of fine flour.
See that?
with
You
oil.
gotta have the fine flour and the oil with it. It ain't right if you ain't got the fine flour and the oil. Stop playing. Read on. Get verse 11. I'm sorry.
Verse 11.
This is how the Most High feels. Read.
No meat offering which ye shall bring unto the Most High shall be made with leaven.
See that? He said, look, don't bring me no meat offering with no leaven. Unleavened only. All right? That's the way I like it. Read on.
For ye shall burn no leaven, nor any honey, in any offering of the Most High made by fire.
So see that? He said, look, with any offerings, don't burn it. All right? So go ahead and jump down, read verse 13.
Verse 13. And every obligation
Watch
of
the
thy
Most High with this. Look, read.
and every obligation of thy meat offering shalt thou season with salt.
Shout that what?
Season with salt.
He said, look, anything you offer me, you better put some seasoning on it. Don't bring me nothing bland.
Facts.
He said, what the hell you cooking in there? He said, y'all playing. Read.
Neither shalt thou suffer the salt of the covenant of thy power to be lacking from thy meat offering.
You see that? He said, look, you better not even be lacking on no salt. He said, look, we ran out of salt. He said, don't even bring it to me then. You ain't got no flavor on it. The Most High said, look, you better give me something with some flavor.
Facts.
Think about it. And the Most High is doing that for a reason too, because we as Israelites, we're supposed to be the flavor of the earth. We're the salt of the earth. And that's why also too, when you read like in the New Testament, it deals with if the salt of the earth loses flavor, well, how can you re-salt it? How can you re-add the flavor to it? Because we're that salt. We can't lose flavor. We're the ones that set the trends. Every other nation wants to be like us, follow suit after us. The Most High saying, look, the same thing with my people. You ain't trying to be bland like the Edomites. They over there trying to copy you. They be up there trying to make, even in our wicked state, we set the trend for everything. They trying to dance like us, move like us.
Facts.
You got a little white girl trying to make videos and let me teach you how to twerk. Move your hips. Even in our wicked state, we're still the better people. We do everything on a higher level to where the nations want to be like us. Look at all them, man, Korean, Japanese, they trying to dance like you. They trying to do all the old school dances and bring them back. You know, that's what they trying to do. All the hip hop dance, they trying to bring it back. Read on.
With all thine offerings thou shalt offer salt.
With some of your offerings,
All thy offerings.
he said, look, with all your offerings, you better put some salt on it. All right? So get Leviticus chapter 6, 16 to 23.
Leviticus chapter 6, verse 16. And the reminder thereof shall Aaron and his sons eat.
So the remainder, once again, Aaron and his sons shall eat. All right? So that's why every time you mess up, they're like, oh, again? You love feeding me, don't you? You love feeding me. Read on.
With unleavened bread shall it be eaten in the holy place. In the court of the tabernacle of the congregation they shall eat it. Verse 17. It shall not be baken with leaven. I have given it unto them for their portion of my offerings made by fire. It is mostly holy. It is most holy and is the sin offering.
Read that again.
It is most holy and is the sin offering.
As is the sin offering. Because remember, these things, like I said, many of these offerings, when you read within these first 7 chapters, are very, very similar. All right, so that's why we say, as is this offering, or just like with this offering, because that's why we're at the first one, because that's the standard of a lot of the other offerings that come later. All right, and many things he'll just reiterate. Read on.
And as the trespassing offering, verse 18, and all the males among the children of Aaron shall eat of it. It shall be a statute forever in your generation concerning the offerings of the Most High made by fire. Every one that toucheth them shall be holy. And the Most High spake unto Moses, saying,
Read on.
This is the offering of Aaron and his sons, which they shall offer unto the Most High in the day when he is anointed.
So now we're dealing with the offering of Aaron and his sons when they mess up and they have to give an offering. Read on.
The 10th part of an ephah of fine flour for a meat offering perpetual half of it in the morning, and half thereon at night. In a pan it shall be made with oil, and when it is baking, thou shalt bring it in, and the baking pieces of the meat offering shalt thou offer for a sweet savor unto the Most High. And if the priest be of sons, and if the priest of his sons that is anointed in his stead shall offer it, it is a statute forever unto the Most High. It shall be wholly burnt.
It shall be what?
Wholly burnt.
It should be wholly burnt. That's when it's charred to a crisp, all right? But when he just normally says burnt offering, you're just cooking it. But now when he says wholly burnt, nah, this whole thing, it got to be done. Read on.
23. For every meat offering for the priest shall be wholly burnt. It shall not be eaten.
Yeah, it should not be eaten because when it look like when it get off the grill at that point in time, you ain't going to want to eat it. It's wholly burnt, all right? Charred, crisp. So let's continue on. So why a sacrifice? Why is it a sacrifice? Get Genesis 13 and 2. Let's get Genesis chapter 13 and verse 2.
Genesis chapter 13, verse 2.
Read.
And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold.
So Abram was very, very rich. He was very wealthy in what?
Very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold.
So hold on. Why would the first thing it mentioned be cattle? Why would it say he's very, very rich in cattle? Many of us may feel, well, silver and gold worth more than cattle. I mean, that's money. That's value. So those are things that are actually, yeah, we put value in, but the cattle was worth so much more. So, and why is that? Because in aspect with cattle, you have true wealth. It's harder for you to read, but I'm going to read it for you. And this is just a few things when dealing with the different uses of animals, all right? So it says sheep are mainly used for meat. Yeah, you got meat with it, but what else? Wool. So things such as lamb chops and sweaters could come from sheep. Less commonly, sheep can also be used for milk. So it's an aspect where from that sheep, you can get those particular things, which is very valuable, all right? Those things are money. It's worth something. So now, think about if this is something that's worth something. You can start a business with these particular things. Need to be you selling your particular meat if you do have a lot of it, or if you do have someone, need to be a man that's a tailor, a woman that's a seamstress, she can go ahead and take that particular wool and make things useful out of it. Need to be blankets, sweaters, things of that nature, dye different colors. You know how people can do it, make it trendy. Say, look, I got that new for you. So go ahead. Let's I'm gonna get the next one. The chamois. So as far as that cloth, the chamois, what they make that out of, that's what they make out of. They use sheepskin for that. So cloth that you wash your car with, soft leather, that's what you can also use them with, all right? So, and then of course, landscape management. While sheep have been used for centuries to control unwanted vegetation, grazing as a fee-based service is a relatively new phenomenon. Along with goats, sheep are best livestock to use to control unwanted vegetation, such as noxious weeds and invasive plants. So even if you said, look, I got a lot of weeds growing, it's all right, I'll get my goats to trim that up for you, not a problem. You know, I'll leave 3 of them for you for the weekend, pay me on the low. You know, not a problem. So you can very well do that. So now the next one is, and of course, little websites with it are also there. You also have other food products. These are other food products that you may not have known it, but come from cattle and sheep and ox and things of this nature. So you also have like tennis rackets, footballs, baseballs, baseball gloves, and basketballs are also made from the skins of these animals. So you also have keratin, which is a protein extracted from cow hooves is used to create a specialized fire extinguisher foam. Then reading on, car tires are made using stearic acid, a cow byproduct, but that's not where it ends. Many cars, of course, have leather seats, but they also use glue created from beef protein in car bodies, and hydraulic brake fluid is actually made from cow fat. So looking at all these things, if you have cattle, look at all the ways that you can make business dealing with those. You want tennis rackets? Okay, I'll give you parts of this particular animal so that you can make those tennis rackets, so you can make those footballs and basketballs and baseball gloves. Not a problem. So livestock is very, very valuable and multi-purpose. And these are just things that it's used for, and it doesn't stop there. I'll get a couple more things. So if you thought that industrialized animal agriculture was destructive enough, just consider the fact that glycerin, which is derived from cow fat, is used in dynamite. So that's also something used. But be aware, not all glycerin is cow fat. Some is actually pork. So be mindful and double check and actually call the company to verify if this glycerin is from cattle or if it's from swine, all right?
Con.
So reading on, Cattle Empire probably boasts more than 100 individual drugs performing such important and varied functions such as helping to make childbirth safer, settling an upset stomach, preventing blood clots in the circulatory system, controlling anemia, relieving some symptoms of hay fever and asthma, and helping babies digest milk include beef byproducts. Insulin, for example, is produced using cow pancreas. Additionally, gelatin capsules are commonly used for a variety of medications. Most asphalt contains a beef-based fat that acts as a binding agent. Paintbrushes that are labeled as camel hair brushes are not really made from camel at all. Not that this would really make them any better. Actually, these brushes are composed of the fine hairs from cows' ears and tails. So and that's from onegreenplanet.com. So in short, the use of the animal goes even beyond that of which we normally think as far as I'm just going to eat it. So be mindful, think about that, and take that in consideration, all right? But get Genesis chapter 3 and verse 21. So that's part of why it's also a sacrifice, because every time you mess up, you lose money, all right? You lose money. You lose part of what it is to sustain you, and now you have to take what you have and give it to someone else, and now it's going to sustain them, all right? So like we dealt with before in that previous slide, where is it at? Let me get that previous one I'm looking for. So just like with this one, he said, thank you for the food, right? So thank you for the sacrifice, because now, because you messed up, it now gets passed on to someone else. And that's what the Most High also showed us when we messed up either individually or as a nation. What happened when we fell into sin? The kingdom was translated to another people, right? So we messed up. So guess what? Now it gets offered to someone else.
Mike.
So let me go through. All right, so let's go ahead and let's get Genesis chapter 3 and verse 21. Go ahead and read that.
Genesis chapter 3, verse 21. Unto Adam also and to his wife did the Most High Power make coats of skin and clothe them.
So why am I getting this? Because this, we're going back to the institution of the sacrificial law. So when you're dealing with these coats of skins, contrary to what they show in images like this, like Adam and Eve, they were just booty naked out there and they didn't have no clothes on. And then God finally gave them some clothes so they can finally get dressed. Nah, that's not what it's dealing with at all. It's dealing with the sacrificial law. Because this is how they portray, get Genesis chapter 2 and verse 25. This is how they portray Adam and Eve. As if they were just out there, nothing with some leaves. They were just naked. All right, so get Genesis chapter 2 and verse 25.
Genesis chapter 2, verse 25. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed.
So that's what they deal with. They was both naked. Meaning what? Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 38 through 40. It wasn't out there nude, running around. They were just being natural men and women.
Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 38.
Read 38 through 40.
38. But Joshua, the son of Nun, which standeth before thee, he shall go in thither. Encourage him, for he shall cause Israel to inherit it.
Read, because you
Moreover,
read, Joshua and Caleb were the only adults when you deal with the children of Israel in the wilderness that came out of Egypt to make it into the promised land. They were the only adults to make it. The only ones aside from them that made it were children. All that generation along with them had to, aside from Joshua and Caleb, they all had to die. And Joshua and Caleb, they were in their 40s at this particular time, all right? Even when they went out to spy the land, when Caleb went out, when they went out to spy the land, they were in their 40s, all right? So it's an aspect where they were the only adults that made it into the promised land. The ones aside from the adults were the children. Read on.
Verse 39. Moreover, you little ones, which ye said should be a prey, and your children, which is in that day.
Read that again.
Which in that day had no knowledge between good and evil. They shall go in thither, and unto them will I give it, and they shall possess it.
So that's what you're dealing with. No knowledge of good and evil. That's what you're dealing with. Being innocent unto the Most High. That's what he said, look, y'all that came out of Egypt, y'all way too wicked. Y'all way too puffed up. I can't deal with you. Y'all got to die. I'm going to deal with the next generation because I can't deal with it. So, because guess what? Even in this modern day and age, many of our people, both men and women, don't want to leave Egypt. They don't want to leave America. They don't want to separate from the ways of America. Many people can't see the life, oh, no Burger King, no McDonald's, and, I can't watch basketball wise. Oh, I can't play my video games. Oh, can't. Too much complaining, because the aspect where, remember, all this stuff is going to get shut down.
Facts.
Ain't going to have this stuff forever. This kingdom is falling. What you mean? I ain't going to be able to go to the mall and do my shopping? Nah, you ain't. This kingdom is falling down. So our kingdom is coming up. But guess what? This kingdom has to fall in order for our kingdom to come up. So which one you fighting for? Damn. I still got enough time to go back home and watch Game of Thrones, get these last seasons for Most High destroy everything. Still got time to finish watching, whether it's Preachers of LA, whatever it is, I don't know, I don't watch TV. But whatever these shows is, I still got time to finish this season before this next one come out. Let me see, what that?
Power? You talking about Power?
Yeah, I guess.
Power,
I don't know. All right, Power,
That's just popping.
before this, none of these shows, I ain't never watched Game of Thrones, Power, I don't know. So, but, hey, still got time to watch it before the Most High destroy all of it. So it's an aspect where, our people were so inured, so stuck on the ways of Egypt that they couldn't disconnect from it. Everything was a problem, all right? Which, even for some of us, in the aspect of repentance, many things can still be a problem. We have a problem with trying to do right. We have a problem, men have a problem with leading the households, being the head, being that leader, being that provider. Women got a problem with submission. We have a problem with keeping the law. I got to do this, and I don't see why I can't do this, why I got to be this, and, so on and so forth. It's a problem. Well, it's an aspect where, look, the Most High ain't playing. We like to think the kingdom's coming, so automatically got a ticket. Stop playing. You don't read. We forget when we read about Noah and the flood and only 8 people lived out of everybody in the world.
Facts.
Only 8 people. Remember, the Most High don't need you. You need him. Stop acting like he needs you. He ain't going to kill me. Yeah, he will. Most High is serious. So, read verse 40.
Verse 40. But as for you,
He said, but as for you, as for your wicked assets, read on.
turn you and take your journey into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea.
He said, get the wandering, Israel. Get the stepping. Y'all gonna be in this wilderness till all y'all die off. That's a cold piece, huh? So y'all ain't even going into that land. Y'all gonna wander around here for the next 40 years. That's what y'all gonna do till all y'all die. And then we going in. Make sure every last one of y'all die. If that's the last one, you should, they finna croak, give them like another month. We good? All right, now y'all can go in. So that's how the Most High rose, because Caleb and Joshua, remember I said they was in their 40s? They were like 40 or 45, I forget. They didn't get into the promised land until it was 85. Yeah, they didn't get to the promised land until it was 85. So let's get Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 1. So remember, knowledge of good and evil, that knowledge of good and evil is sin, all right? You not partaking in sin is what makes you innocent. You're keeping the law, all right? So get Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 1.
Isaiah chapter 30, verse 1.
Because I'm going to explain more. Get Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 1.
Woe to the rebellion children, said the Most High,
He says, woe unto the rebellious children. Woe meaning destruction. Read on.
that take counsel, but not of me,
See, that's what happened with Adam and Eve. They took counsel, but not of the Most High. Read.
and that covered with a covering, but not of my spirit.
So see that? They covered with a covering. When you read when they first were ashamed and they clothed themselves, they took covering of a covering, but not of the Most High Spirit. Read on.
And they may add sin to sin.
So see that? They took covering and they clothed themselves, but they clothed themselves with an unclean or unrighteous spirit. Get Psalm chapter 32 and verse 1.
Book of Psalms, chapter 32. Fuck yeah.
All right.
He's big. This book.
Take your time.
Book of Psalms, chapter 32, verse 1. Blessed is he whom transgression is forgiven,
Who's what?
whose transgression is forgiven,
Read.
whose sin is covered.
So when the Most High, when he gave them those skins of clothing, those skins that he gave them, it's an aspect where he clothed them. He forgave them of their transgression through the sacrificial law. They made an atonement for their sins. Get Isaiah chapter 61 and verse 10.
Isaiah chapter 61, verse 10.
Read.
Verse 10. I will greatly rejoice in the Lord. My soul shall be joyful in my power. For he had clothed me with the garment of salvation.
With the what?
The garment of salvation.
So that's the thing. The Most High clothed us with the garments of salvation. So that's what he allowed one to do, and that's what he gave back to Adam and Eve, that look, you gotta, I'm instituting the sacrificial law so that you don't perish, but this animal perishes instead. Read on.
Garment of salvation. He had covered me with the robe of righteousness, as a bridegroom decketh himself with anointment, and as a bride adorning herself with her jewels.
Right, so he covered me with righteousness. All right, that's the key thing. That's what the covering of the Most High is. That's the covering of his spirit, righteousness. Get Proverbs chapter 15 and verse 8.
Proverbs chapter 15, verse 8. The sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination to the Most High.
Is a what?
An abomination to the Most High.
So the Most High says, look, the sacrifices of the wicked, what they give, that's an abomination unto me. I don't care about the sacrifices of the wicked. I reject the sacrifices of the wicked. It's an abomination. It's utterly detestable. That's when abomination is. When it's abominable, I'm not trying to deal with that. Get that up out my face. What you trying to do with that? Nope, not me. So get Genesis chapter 4, verse 1 through 7. It's the same thing going back to Cain. Cain's offering was not accepted because Cain himself wasn't accepted. He wasn't right.
Genesis chapter 4, verse 1.
Because when you look at the significance of that, you can be doing all the works you want to for the Most High, but if you, as the individual, you're not getting yourself right, the Most High don't care about that. That's no different than those who may be in the so-called church or bootleg church, that those pastors or those who may give, even though the congregation may give that money and think, oh, I'm giving this money to God. The Most High isn't accepting those things because you ain't right. He said, look, that offering is abomination. Take that. I don't want that because you ain't right. Get Genesis chapter 4, verse 1 through 7.
Verse 1. And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I've gotten a man from the Most High. And she again bare his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Most High. And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flocks and of the fat thereof. And the Most High had respect unto Abel and to his offering.
Right. So many look at that and say, well, see, he respected Abel's offering because he brought of the sheep, but Cain, he brought of the fruit of the ground, so that wasn't acceptable. Well, when you read Leviticus in those chapters, you had wave offerings. You had things that would be of crops, like we have first fruits, So these are things that it wasn't that he brought of the fruit of the ground and things of that nature. It was that Cain was not right. His spirit was not right with the Most High. So read on.
Verse 5. But unto Cain and to his offering he had no respect.
He had not respect because Cain wasn't right. Read on.
And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell.
And Cain was upset about that. He was upset. He was bothered. But read on.
Verse 6. And the Most High said unto Cain, why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen?
So he's asking him a rhetorical question. He says, look, why are you wroth? Why are you upset? Why is your countenance, why is your facial expression as if one who is sorrowful? You're sad. Read on.
Verse 7. If thou doest well,
He said, look, if thou doest well, if you do the right thing, read.
should thou not be accepted?
He said, look, shalt thou not also be accepted? It was never about the type of offering that they gave, but what manner of spirit that they had when they gave it. Make sense? So Abel was right. He was righteous, keeping the laws. Cain was wicked. He wasn't keeping the law the way he should, but still trying to, fake it till you make it, act like he's still moving accordingly, and just believe the Most High is just going to accept him for whatever his actions may be. Oh, that sound familiar? That's how many of our people like to get down, right? I don't want to change, but I still get this to the Most High. He going to accept me. He know my heart. That's how many people are feeling. The Most High, he said, look, I even tell you, the heart is wicked above all things and deceitful. Who can know it? So an aspect where, continue reading.
And if thou doest not well, sin lying at the door.
See that? He said, if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. And what are the wages of sin?
Death.
Death, Romans 6:23, right? So in an aspect where he's saying, look, and if thou doest not well, if you don't clear your act up, death is waiting at the door. And Satan is waiting at the door. Read on.
And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him.
Because if you don't straighten up your act, not only is death waiting at the door, but Satan also, and Satan is going to rule over you. He's the one that's going to have control over you. And the same thing with us. When we don't get right with the Most High, Satan starts to take over. You start to fall away. And when to get that, get Sirach 19:1. Because it ain't got to be a big thing. You ain't got to make a big transaction. Nah, it starts with the little stuff. You start bypassing a lot of the little stuff. That's saying, it starts with little attitudes, little stuff we don't want to do, little stuff we don't like, and we don't correct.
Sirach, Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 19, verse 1. A laboring man that is given to drunkenness shall not be rich, and he that contended small things shall fall by little and little.
Right. So he that contemneth, if you have a disdain, a rejection of the little things, you're gonna fall away little by little. That little stuff you don't like getting corrected on, that little stuff you don't like to change. Well, guess what? You're gonna start to fall away little by little. Either you have the option to correct it, get better and grow in righteousness, or ignore it, have an attitude, pop your lip, and fall away little by little. And the next thing you know, everything starts becoming more and more of a struggle. It becomes harder and harder to do the little stuff, everything you have an attitude about, because you're falling away little by little. Because there's no lukewarm in this truth. Either you're growing or you're increasing or you're decreasing. That's either way. Either way you're cutting. Either increasing or you're decreasing. You're either becoming more righteous, more holy, or you're becoming more worldly. All right? So get 1 Samuel chapter 15, because now we're going to get an example of this dealing with how it plays out. Get 1 Samuel chapter 15.
1 Samuel chapter 15.
We're going to read this whole chapter. This is very, very important. Read that.
Verse 1. Samuel also said unto Saul, the Most High sent me to anoint thee to be king over his people of Israel. Now thereof hearken thou unto the voice of the voice of the words of the Most High. Thus said the Most High of hosts, I remember that which Amalek did to Israel, how he laid wait for him in the way when he came up from Egypt. Verse 3.
Now listen to this. What did the Most High say? Read.
Now go and smite Amalek.
Now go and smite Amalek. Read.
And utterly destroy all.
Somewhat destroy?
All.
Somewhat destroy?
Destroy all.
No. Utterly destroy all. Read.
That they have, and spare them not.
Spare some of them.
Spare them not.
Keep one alive.
Spare them not.
Read.
But slay both men and women, infant and sucklings, ox and sheep, camel and ass.
Man, keep the oxen and the sheep.
Camel and ass.
So read on.
Verse 4. And Saul gathered the people together and numbered them in Telem, 200,000 footmen and 10,000 men of Judah. And Saul came to a city of Amalek and laid wait in the valley. Verse 6. And Saul said unto the Kenites, Go, depart, get you down from among the Amalekites, lest I destroy you with them. For ye showed kindness to all the children of Israel when they came up out of Egypt. So Kenites depart from among the Amalekites, and Saul smote the Amalekites from Havilah until the coast to Shur, that is over against Egypt.
Yeah, so Saul did what the Most High told him to do, right? Let's see, read.
And he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword.
Yeah, see, they destroyed all the people, right? He did what the Most High told him to do, right? Read. Let's see.
But Saul and the people spared Agag, and the best of the sheep, and of the oxen, and the fatlings, and the lambs, and all that was good, and would not utterly destroy them. But everything that was vile and refused, that they destroyed utterly.
Uh-oh. Did he listen? Did he do what we read earlier up in verse 3 that he was supposed to do? What God told him to do? I mean, come on. I mean, he killed, he killed the Amalekites, and he also destroyed a lot of everything that was detestable. He did that, that wasn't good. Read on.
Verse 10. Then came the word of the Most High unto Samuel, saying, It repented me that I have set up Saul to be king, for he is turned back from following me, and have not performed my commandments.
Have not what?
Perform my commandments.
See, that's the thing, man. Look, with the Most High, he don't like half-stepping. He don't want you to do most of what, well, I did. You know us, Israel. I did this. I did what you told me to do. Nah, you did this, but you left out this, and this. Well, I'm just saying, you wanted me to do this, right? We start getting attitude. You wanted me to do this, right? I did it. That's what you wanted me to do, right? So when we don't look at the totality of things and that, no, you didn't do everything that I wanted you to do. You did this, and you're using this to validate the other things that you did not do. When that's not the case. And the Most High, you'll be the first one to pull your card on that. All right? And then of course, your brother and sister will pull your card on it too, because we do that with each other. All right, look, I need you to go to the store. Go ahead. Man, look, it could be with simple stuff. You send your son, spouse, whatever it is. Hey, look, can you go to the store? Hey, give me a chocolate cake, but they ain't got chocolate, get strawberry. All right, I'm going to go to the store. What's this? Strawberry cake. No, I wanted the chocolate one. You said you wanted strawberry. No, I said if they didn't have chocolate, get the strawberry. Well, all I heard was strawberry. I mean, I got it. You just ungrateful. That's how we get. And it's like, nah, you didn't listen. That's how we take it. As soon as there's an offense, you just ungrateful. You just tripping. Next time you go, shoot, just appreciate me going to go get it for you. Shoot. Now you just being petty. We start tripping like that with each other. Very well, you can be sent with something. You could be on a particular committee. All right, look, I need you to get the forks. Make sure you get the paper plates, get the cups, get the napkins, all right? Okay, yeah, I'm going to go get it. You come back, you done forgot the napkins, forgot the cups. It's like, you got everything? Yeah, I got everything. Where the napkins at? What, I got the stuff on the list. You didn't even say nothing about no napkins. I did say something about some napkins. Well, I got the plates and the cups, so, I mean, that's something. And that's how we get. That's the same mindset. Saul was saying that's a wicked mindset. We got to stop doing that. Continue on. Continue reading.
And it grieved Samuel, and he cried unto the Most High all night. Verse 12. And when Samuel rose early to meet Saul in the morning, it was told Samuel, saying, Saul, come to Carmel. And behold, he set him up a place, and it's gone about, and passed on, and gone down to Gilgal. And Samuel came to Saul, and Saul said unto him, Blessed be thou of the Most High. I have performed the commandments of the Lord.
See how he's thinking? He said, look, I performed the commandment of the Lord. I did what he told me to do. What's happening? Let's rejoice. Read.
Verse 14. And Samuel said, What meaneth then this bleating of the sheep in mine ears, and the lowings of the oxen which I hear.
He said, what's up with all this sheep and cattle and everything I'm hearing? And if you did what you say you do, if we all good. Oh, man. Read.
Verse 15. And Saul said, they have brought them.
Yeah, you see what he did? He put his great grandfather move. He said, they did. Hey, they. Remember Adam? The woman thou gavest me. You know, she caused me to sin. It wasn't me. You gave her to me. You know, you said she was the one. She was perfect. I mean, look, she brought this to the table. It wasn't me. Saul doing the same thing. Rick?
They have brought them from the Amalekites for the people spare.
For the who?
For the people
He
spare.
said, look, it was the people. Rick?
Spare the best of the sheep and the oxen to sacrifice unto the Most High thy power.
To do what?
Sacrifice unto the Most High thy power.
So this is sometimes what we get. He's thinking he's doing a good thing. Oh yeah, the Most High, he like these offerings. We can keep these offerings and give it to the Most High. That's a good thing, right? And we put in our own mind what we think is good in the situation, but not. That ain't necessarily what's good in that particular situation. A lot of time we do those things, and it's different cases. Of course, it may not be this for you, but a similar scenario either you've been in or you know someone that has, where look, you're doing something very well thinking, oh, I'm going to do it for this, thinking good intentions, so to speak, but yet and still, that's not what it is you were supposed to do. Kind of like your parents actually, look, make sure you wash the dishes, all right? Make sure you wash dishes, throw out the trash. You're like, damn, I don't want to wash all those dishes. I'm going to just clean up the house and clean up everything else. I'm going to kind of leave that there. You know, hopefully they get that, you know. And you feel that you cleaning up everything else validates what it is that you were told to do when it doesn't. Parents going, what happened to the dishes? Oh, I cleaned up the house and everything. That's not what I asked you, though. What happened to the dishes? You know? Well, I mean, everything else is clean, and I mean, it's straight. I mean, how you really gonna get on me? Then we get an attitude like they was wrong when it was really us. Continue reading.
And the rest we had utterly destroyed.
Yeah, that's it. Look, and the rest we utterly destroyed. Read.
Verse 16. Then Samuel said unto Saul, stay, and I will tell thee what the Most High had said to me this night. And he said unto him, say on.
Read on. Because now the Most High got to check them, because that's the thing. The Most High always holds us accountable, especially leaders. He especially holds the leaders far more accountable because you're over the body. So what you do, you have the ability to sway the people, okay? So when you sit in these particular seats, you have the ability to sway the people. You have the ability to misguide, mislead, swindle, seduce, you know, beguile the people in different ways and take advantage of the kindness of the people or the ignorance of the people or the situation of the people, because also with leadership too, there's other things involved. There's counsel, there's all these things, there's power, there's authority. So you can't misuse those things. So the Most High holds you to a much higher standard of accountability. All right, read on.
Verse 16. Then Samuel said unto Saul, stay, and I will tell thee what the Most High said unto me this night. And he said unto him, say on. Verse 17. And Samuel said, when thou was little in thy own sight, wast thou not made the head of the tribe of Israel? And the Most High anointed thee king over Israel. And the Most High sent thee on a journey and said, go and utterly destroy the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they be consumed. Whereof then didst thou not obey the voice of the Most High, but didst fly upon the spoil, and didst evil.
And didst what?
Didst evil.
And didst evil, read.
In the sight of the Most High.
So see that? Even though he did what seemingly may be a good thing, it was really evil in the sight of the Most High. That's what we got to think about and take into consideration when we make certain decisions. We may be thinking something is good, but it really turns out to be evil according to the Most High. And that's where a lot of time we think, oh, he's such a good person. She's such a good person. According to what? According, and what we, even in the world, we generally take aspects of the law when determining who's a good person. We generally look at, oh, this person doesn't steal. They don't seem like they're a rapist or murderer. They seem like a pretty good person. Those are aspects of being a good person. But that doesn't mean that they're good according to the Most High. They have aspects or traits of what makes someone a good person. But that doesn't mean they have the totality or completeness of being a good person with the Most High, because the Most High is still going to say, nah, that person's wicked as hell. What you mean? They don't steal? Nah, but that person is adulterous. Okay, what about this person? I mean, they seem pretty good. They don't murder, but nah, that person's a rapist. Well, what about this person? This person, you know, I mean, they seem, you know, pretty straight. They take care of their kids, but they don't keep the Sabbath. So the Most High, he said, look, I'm not looking for no half-steppers, all right? I want 100%. That's why you got to wear 100% garments, because the Most High, he don't want partiality. He wants 100%.
Facts.
So read on.
Verse 20, and Saul said unto Samuel, yeah, I have obeyed the voice of the Most High.
Did
and
Saul
have-
repent yet? No. That's how many of us be. We still be thinking we be right and justifying it, even in our dealings with each other. All right. Look, man, I already told you this is, this is it. This is it. That's not it. This is, and we be yeah, this is it. Same thing with, look, sister, you got to do this, and I ain't doing that. And you know, I'm doing this, and you know, sis, look, this is what I'm telling you. Well, this is what I'm telling you. All right. So, and man, we get like that. But guess what? Like I tell people, look, I'm just a man. I'm the least of the prophets. You're offending me. You got to take that up with the Most High. All right. Because just like I covered with the brothers, I know they loved it when I taught them this past Saturday morning, you know, for soldiers class, an aspect, man, you never know who you're talking to, all right? Because guess what? The Most High brings back all his prophets. And guess what? You feel real sorry if you was talking to Abraham like that, and you found out that was Abraham. You feel real sorry you found out you was talking to Judas Maccabeus. But you know what the funny thing is? It's only once you find out that that's who that is that you'll feel sorry. That's the crazy part. You won't have no remorse any other time.
That's scary, y'all.
You know, shoot, that's why I went to it.
That's low-key scary, yeah.
But let's continue on. Because like I said, we be thinking we be right. I did what he told me to do. Read on, continue.
I have obeyed the voice of the Most High and have gone the way which the Most High sent me, and have brought Agag, the king of Amalek, and have utterly destroyed the Amalekites.
Look at that. He's even saying what he did and still thinking he did what the Most High told him to do. That's where you get that veil. You become blinded, all right? That's when pride starts entering. And that's where now you're in the danger zone. You're in jeopardy of, depending on the situation, losing your salvation or bringing curses or affliction on you that you don't have to go through. Because we be thinking them financial problems just come out of nowhere. We be thinking them health problems, kidney stones, birth problems, pains, health problems, getting sick. We be thinking it just be coming out of nowhere, not even realizing it's for something that you did contrary to the Most High. And he's just getting you back for it. Man, brother, this problem, I don't know what happened, brother. It's like, man, my thigh, I got to go to a doctor, man. It's like it started swelling up on me. You know, and of course, man, I started years ago. I would always joke with brothers and stuff about, you been paying alms? That's what I would always do. I would always joke, and then brothers started taking off with it. I know Danielle, no, y'all been paying your alms? Because an aspect where the things you go through, you can deduce it down to two things. You're either being tried to test you, or you're being judged by something that you did. That's pretty much it. But you got to decide which one it is in your life. You being tested or you being judged. So you got to meditate, go back in your closet to see like, damn, I think I messed up. I messed up. Let me go back and repent. I think I was probably wrong when I said that to that brother or sister. You know, let me call him. I apologize. Hey, you know that conversation I had a month ago, man? I didn't want to live it down. Man, my bad, bro. You know, it was my fault. You know, I'm sorry. Read on.
Verse 21, but the people took of the spoiled sheep and oxen the chief of the things which should have been utterly destroyed, to sacrifice unto the Most High thy power in Jagal. And 22, and Samuel said, had the Most High as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Most High.
As in what?
Obeying the voice of the Most High.
Read.
Behold, to obey is...
To what?
To obey.
To what?
To obey.
Read.
Is better than sacrifice.
Read.
And to hearken than the fat of rams.
See, the Most High and Samuel Cole, look, he told him, You know, because the Most High, he's always dealing with his prophets. And just like he had his prophets then, he has his prophets even today. So it's an aspect where he said, look, and that's where, man, it's cold. Hold that. Let me get Job. It's one of my favorite scriptures. This is one, man, we always deal with. Rasha, you said, man, if a leaf falls, go in the spirit on that. But I like, man, I always say, look, if you stump your toe, you better be like, man, Father, I'm so sorry. I probably shouldn't have been thinking like that, you know, because an aspect where all that stuff is, man, you bump your head, and you know what I'm talking about, you hit your head real hard, I'll be like, man, Father, I'm sorry. I just say, I'm sorry. That's the little stuff. You be happy, man, because like I said, everything happened for a reason. That one time you just forgot that was right there and just, Yeah, that's judgment. I'm sorry. Facts. Because, boy, I used to do it. When I see someone up, like, that felt good, didn't it? That woke you, that felt good, huh? Hey, it's better than something worse happening to you. Get Job chapter 33 and get verse 14 real quick.
Job chapter 33, verse 14. For God speaketh once.
He said, look, the Most High speaketh once. Read.
Yeah, twice.
Yea, he can speak even twice to you. Read.
Yeah, yet men perceive it not.
Right, yet you still don't perceive it. The Most High can talk to you. He can send, look, like I said, the prophets of the day, brother can tell you, hey, he said, look, you shouldn't even do that. You know, you should be like this. And you just ignore it. That's the Most High speaking to you once. Someone else might tell you. Most High speaking to you twice, but yet and still you don't perceive it. You be looking for answers. The answer was already given to you. Most High done already told you.
Facts.
While you still looking to the left saying, where the Most High at? When he gonna answer me? He already gave you your answer. Didn't so-and-so talk to you? Didn't that brother talk to you? So an aspect where you already got the answer. But we still be looking, waiting. Go back to 1 Samuel. So look, to obey is better than sacrifice. Read verse 23.
Verse 23. For rebellion.
For what?
Rebellion.
Read.
Is as the sin of witchcraft.
Because when you read the law, what is the judgment of a witch? Death. That is the judgment of a witch. He said, look, if you're a rebellious individual, you like being rebellious, Moses said, look, your judgment is death. That's how I feel about you. And we be looking at that stuff, that's just a small sin. I just had an attitude. I just popped the lip. Well, I said, nah, you knocking on death's door right now. Because remember, someone who on one end of the stick, simple, as the scripture says, on the other end of the stick, not aware, not cognizant, not scripturally in tune, it is looking at, okay, I'm just being rebellious, I'm talking back, whatever it is, you know, no big deal, it's just a little minor sin. But when you read the scriptures, why was Israel always being judged? Because they're rebellious as hell. That's why they died in the wilderness to begin with.
Facts.
That's how simple the scriptures are. That's why they died in the wilderness. That's why they kept going in captivity, because they were rebellious. They didn't want to listen. Again and again, they did not want to listen, but they wanted to do according to their own will. That's why the Most High is saying, look, you still don't get it. Saul still didn't get it. Rebelliousness is as the sin of witchcraft. I'm going to put you to death if you keep acting rebellious. You got time to repent, but I'm going to put you to death if you don't straighten it up. Because the judgment for rebelliousness is death. While you be looking in your head, that's just a little sin. Me talking back to leadership, that's just a little sin. Me talking back to my head or to my husband, that's a little sin. That's a big sin. You know, that's a big sin. The only reason why most of them might keep you alive is through the righteous acts of your husband, especially if you don't get things right. You know, so the Most High, he's not playing with us, you know, but we like to hope his mercy is just endure forever. And that's why I said, look, when you look at the flood, only 8 people made it. You know, 8 people. You know, the Most High, he's not playing. He's coming back for judgment, and he means it. You know, but we're the ones that hope I'm going to get in. The kingdom's coming to Israel, but that don't mean you getting in. So you might be the one that's stuck on the other side looking. So just because someone, you know, you can come to class, you can sit in, that don't mean nothing. You know, so at the end of the day, who can speak for your own personal life? I don't know what none of y'all do when y'all go home. So I'm not there. You know, so just because you come to class, I mean, you know somebody, see him for a couple hours one day, you know, that don't mean nothing. You don't know him. How much time you spend outside of class? So at the end of the day, you know, those are things you got to keep in mind. So it says, for rebellion is the sin of witchcraft. And read on.
And stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry.
So once again, being stubborn. You know, we can't be stubborn. You know, as men, we can't be that way. Well, this is just how I feel. This is how I see it. And man, you get yourself put to death. You know, man, you can't be like that. You know, it said, look, stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. What's the judgment of an idolater? Death. And you look at, well, I ain't worshiping no idols. But the Most High said, look, he likens your stubbornness to idolatry. You got to repent or the Most High will put you to death. So now let's get Christ and keep these things in mind because all these things matter. Get 2 Corinthians 3 and 6. 2 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 6.
2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 6.
It's concerning Christ. Read.
Who also had made us able ministers of the New Testament, not of the letter, but of the Spirit. For the letter killeth, but the Spirit giveth life.
Right. The letter killeth. Talking about like a little envelope on the table. He ain't talking about that type of letter. But he's dealing with the old covenant. So we're going to get more into that. What's the difference of that old and that new covenant? That new covenant is Christ. That old covenant is Moses. Let's get into that. Get Leviticus 20 and 13. Because it said, the letter killeth, but the Spirit giveth life. Let's get that. Get Leviticus 20 and 13.
Leviticus chapter 20, verse 13. If a man also lie with mankind, as he lieth with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination, they shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them.
That is the letter. If you messed up, if you did that, you're immediately put to death. Imagine that. For whatever it is, your transgression, if it was heavy, depending on what it was, if it was something where an animal sacrifice could be made, then that animal sacrifice was made. But if it was something heavier, the Most High said, nah, you can't sacrifice no animal for that. You got to die now. You got to die with that. So a situation where now you be put to death. But in this day and age, with the new covenant with Christ, you have the ability and time to get right. Where it's held off to where, yeah, the Most High, he could put any of us to death, you know, if that's his choice. But generally, you have the ability to get things right, even if you messed up, and it's held off to that last judgment. So you have time to get yourself right. You have time to get right with Christ. It's not a situation where, oh, broke the Sabbath, bring it here, put him to death. Oh, you committed adultery, put him to death. Oh, homosexuality, put him to death. Oh, it's not like that anymore. You have the time to get right. Get Matthew 9, 10 through 12. Let's go back to where we were. Get Matthew chapter 9, verse 10 through 12. 10 through 13.
Matthew chapter 9, verse 10.
Mm-hmm.
Shalakia, chapter 9.
Yep, Matthew chapter 9, verse 10 through 13.
10. Matthew chapter 9, verse 10. And it came to pass, as Jesus sat at meat in the house, behold, many publicans and sinners came and sat down with him and his disciples. And when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto the disciples, why eateth your master with publicans and sinners?
So ask him, why is he sitting down with all these sinners, the ones that ain't doing right? Read on.
Verse 12. But when Yahushua heard that, he said unto them, they that be whole need not a physician, but they that are sick.
So he's making a point. He says, look, those that are well, they don't need a physician. They don't need a doctor. But those that are sick, they need a doctor. They need help. Read on.
Verse 13. But go ye and learn what that meaneth.
So remember we went to this earlier. This is the first scripture we went to, right? Read on.
I will have mercy and not sacrifice.
So what does that mean? I will have mercy and not sacrifice. Like we've been covering the lesson. I will have mercy and not sacrifice. Well, read on. We're going to get to it.
For I am not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance.
See that? The Most High said, look, I'm coming so that those who are doing wrong have a chance to get right.
Facts.
That's that mercy. I'm giving you the chance to get right. I just want you to do right. I don't want you to give those sacrifices. This is pertaining back unto that sacrificial law. That's what we're dealing with. Look, I don't want you to give those sacrifices. Get Hosea 6:6. He wants you to get it right, Israel. Get Hosea chapter 6 and verse 6.
Hosea chapter 6, verse 6. For I desire mercy and not sacrifice.
See, once again, the same thing. The Most High is reiterating the same thing that Christ was talking about. Look, for I desire mercy and not sacrifice. Read.
And the knowledge of God.
And the what?
And the knowledge of God.
And the what?
And the knowledge of God.
One more time.
And the knowledge of the Most High.
Read.
More than burnt offering.
That's the whole idea between mercy and not sacrifice. It was nothing new. That's what it was that Samuel was explaining unto Saul. The Most High wants mercy, not sacrifice. He wants you to get right. Because guess what? If you were doing the right thing to begin with, there would be no need for you to bring the animal sacrifice. That's what he was trying to tell him. While you're over here saying, oh, God wants sacrifice, he wants these, he don't give a damn about those sacrifices, because the only reason why you gave it was because you was messing up in the first place. Do the right thing, you won't even need to bring those sacrifices. That's what he was getting at. So go ahead, we're going to get the definition of mercy out of Strong Concordance, H2617. So the key things I'm going to pull out of here is, when you read from 2616, kindness, by implication towards God, pity, rarely by opposition, reproof. So the reprove means to correct. When he's doing mercy, he's doing correction. He wants you to correct your actions. So as far as, and he also says good deeds. He wants you to do the good deeds. What is good? What are the good deeds he wants you to do? Get Romans 7 and 12 real quick.
Romans chapter 7, verse 12.
Read that.
Wherefore the law is holy, and the commandments holy, and just, and good.
So the law is what is holy, just, and good. Therefore, you keeping the law makes you holy, makes you just, makes you good. That's how you become that good brother or sister. That's how you become that just man or woman, is through keeping the law, statute, commandments. And not just part of it, because the Bible's not a bag of trail mix. You can't pick and choose. Oh, I like that one. I want that one. I like that one. You can keep that one. That's good. I'm good on that one. You know, it ain't like that. You have to keep everything in its totality as the Most High wants you to do. All right? Because many people get offended. It's like, look, even when we get corrected, we get offended with, look, it's not according to me. That's why I don't get offended when people get offended, because it's not my word. You know, it's according to the Most High. You know, it's his word. We're just following his word, and we're just teaching others to do the same. All right?
So I don't got to wear my fringes?
Get Hebrews chapter 6 through 10.
Hebrews chapter 6, verse 10.
We reading. Hebrews, we always talk about it, and I even bring it up. Go back and read Hebrews chapter 6 through 10 to get the full understanding of what was done away or changed in Christ. So, and the sacrificial law was what changed. Get Hebrews chapter 6, and we're going to read, just start reading.
For verse 1? Okay. Verse 1. Therefore, leaving the principles of the doctrine of Yahushua, let us go on unto the perfection, not laying again the foundation of repentance from the dead works, and of faith towards Yahweh.
So we're supposed to strive towards perfection. Perfection is being complete when it pertains unto these laws. So not going back and committing the same thing that we're supposed to be dead unto, the same sins we're supposed to have died and been dead to, all right, dead within us. So you shouldn't keep going back and keep committing the same problem again and again and again and again and again. Otherwise, you're not really repentant. And now a lot of times, especially with us, it's not due to a lack of understanding. It's not due because we just don't get it. It's because we don't want to get it. We don't want to change. That's just how I am. I don't know. I just can't get with that. Now you're just being willful. Understanding is because when you say I don't understand, that's through a lack of information and how that information correlates to a specific thing. But when someone gives you that, you can't say, oh, I just don't understand, I don't get it. It's not that you don't understand. You don't want to apply what it is that was given unto you. Now, that's just wickedness. You don't want to apply. You just don't want to do it. That's a totally different story. So read on.
Verse 2. Of the doctrine of baptism and of laying on of hands and of resurrection of the dead and of eternal judgment. Verse 3. And this will we do if Yahweh permit.
Right. So those things are needed to touch on again, and someone legitimately does not understand, then okay, we can teach on those things. But read on.
Verse 4. For it is impossible
It
for
is
those
what?
impossible for those who were once enlightened and have tasted of the heavenly gift and were made partakers of the Holy Spirit or Holy Ghost. Verse 5. And have tasted the good word of Yahweh and the powers of the world to come.
So if you come into this truth, you start learning, oh, man, Israelite, got to keep the Sabbath, whoop, whoop, and, you know, all this good stuff. We get in the kingdom, and this kingdom going down. You start learning all that stuff, and read.
Verse 6. If they shall fall away.
If they shall fall away, read.
To renew them again unto repentance.
To renew them again, they go back in the world, they commit adultery, they break this up, they go ahead and turn from the truth, and one way or another, they say, I'm not going to do that, I disagree. Read.
Seeing they crucify to themselves the Son of Yahweh afresh, and put him to an open shame.
If they fall away, it is impossible, as it dealt in verse 4, it's impossible to re-enlighten them. That's why you read with Saul, he had no hope. The Most High was done with him. He was done. He removed his spirit. And when the Most High removes his spirit, his righteous spirit, well, there's only one thing that can take his place, a wicked spirit. So that person goes back into the world. Because an aspect, and remember, the Most High, how he deals with everyone is different. He knows your spirit. Like everyone like say, well, God know my heart. Damn well, he sure do. You know, because an aspect whereas everyone in here can commit the same offense, but the Most High may forgive you, hold it against you, be done with you, give you one more chance, give you about 3 more, and maybe be done with her too. The Most High, because he knows your spirit. Like we always say, he knows you better than anyone else. And he's the one who's going to go ahead and choose that, look, I'm going to forgive this man, I can't forgive that man. I got to let it ride.
So, would this be equivalent to blasphemy of the Holy Spirit?
Yeah, this will definitely be that, because at the end of the day, this is taking his name in vain. So when it deals with as far as don't take my name in vain, his name isn't just like people think, oh, God damn it, I'm taking the Lord's name in vain now. They ain't taking the Lord's name in vain. His name is his title. Your title is what you stand for. Those are things that you're taking in vain. Go ahead, sis. You got a question?
Mike?
Yeah, anyone else have a question? But go ahead, sis. I mean, that one should be on. Is that mic on?
Mike.
It is? I made sure that mic was good. Hey. Daniel. Hey. William, may you check that mic in front
There's
of you?
another mic?
Is that one good? It died? Well, go ahead, sis. Ask. I'll repeat. So, okay, so we made mistakes. How do we know it was or wasn't the last straw? Well, there's a couple aspects with that. The first of which is, after a while, eventually you will notice the Most High ain't dealing with you the same. He ain't rocking with you the way he used to rock with you. You know, it's like you lost that sparkle, you know. So the Most High, he's like, I'm kind of good. You kind of go over there, I'm going to go over here and deal with somebody else. So, like, for example, you read different forefathers, like Saul. Saul, at first, it didn't immediately hit him, but then he started figuring out the Most High really ain't dealing with me no more, you know. So, and that's where it led him to eventually want to put himself to death, because he knew that, man, the Most High is really done with me. You know, just like many of our people out there, you might meet Israelites who they fallen off from the truth. I can meet an Israelite, and in that conversation, I know that Israelite, he fell off from the truth. He's a vagabond Jew. You know, that spirit of light is no longer in him. Why? Because it's a situation where the best way I could say it's a spiritual thing. You know, you can have information about these scriptures, and the Spirit of Most High is not going to be with you just because you have information of the particular scriptures. So, because the Most High has removed His Spirit, it's a different aura on you now. You know, just like you can tell someone who, at the same time, and I mean, you can evaluate for yourself in different brothers that you meet. You can tell those who the Most High are really working with that brother, because they just move different. It's like things just prosper for them, you know, and things just work differently for them. You can tell the Most High may favor, you know. So, and likewise, those who you may meet, different Israelites, they may say shalom, but they ain't got no beard, they ain't got no fringes on, and shalom, you know, just yeah, you know. So they thinking many of them may still think they in the truth, when the spirit from this person is like no understanding. You know, there's no understanding in this person anymore. This person is like an empty shell, an empty vessel, but it's like they think they're still in the truth. It's like, man, the Most High been done with you. You know, He's been, it's like, what can I liken it unto to get like that same example? You ever get a situation where, okay, here's an example. You ever get the kid put in the cookie jar, eat the cookie, got the crumbs on his face and lie about it? That's what it is, you know, for myself and, you know, for others, especially been in truth for a long time. You know, you ate the cookie, you still got the crumbs in your face. No, I didn't eat the cookie. You got the crumbs in your face. No, I didn't eat the cookie, because it goes before you. It's in your spirit. You know, and that's also how the disciples and how the prophets were to be lie detectors, because a lot of people don't know a lot of the stuff, it's in your spirit. You walk through the door, already know you got problems. You know, it's like it's in your spirit. How are you? Oh, I'm good. Hey, sister, how you doing? I'm good. Brother, how you doing? I'm good. Damn well you ain't good. But all right. You know, so you can't lie to the spirit. You can lie to man, but you can't lie to the spirit. You know, the spirit knows. You know, it's nothing about you seem good. You know, so, but nevertheless, okay. You can always talk to somebody else. You ain't got to talk to me. I'm just a man. You talk to anyone else, you know, and just, hey, that's why I send it the prayers. Man, heal the people, help those, you know, going through those problems, you know, so because it's in their spirit, you know, so, but let's go ahead. So that's just pretty much in short. It's in your spirit. It go before you, where the Most High, eventually, you'll generally realize, just like with Saul, Most High ain't dealing with me, you know, the same way. You know, I think I really messed up this time, you know, so, but at the end of the day, it's still your part. You try to make that atonement, you try to do better, you know, and that's why with this whole work, and that's why with this lesson, don't play with the Most High, you know, don't stop gambling on, oh, He'll forgive me, or this is just little stuff, because whereas even with that same little stuff, He'll forgive that person, but that's because that person isn't misusing the Most High. We like to misuse the Most High and think He just gonna forgive us. He just got to forgive me. I mean, it's just something little. When the Most High says, no, I know your heart. You prideful. I'm done with you because you just too prideful. Go over there. You know, go off to the side. I ain't dealing with you no more. I'm dealing with this person. You know, and guess what? Everything starts to become harder and harder to eventually you find your exit stage left. You know, and it's like no one who's falling off. A lot of times it's not even one incident where they fall. It's a buildup. It's that little incident here. Like everyone I know, I've been in trouble almost 10 years. Everyone I know, it's little incidents here that when you go back, you think about a person, yeah, it was this time, it was this, and it was always a buildup. It was just, were you able to keep track of all those little times? That's why I brought out that Sirach 19:1. It was all those, man, you start disdaining those little things, you start falling away little by little, because you say, that's just small, you don't correct it, that's small, you don't correct it, till eventually it leads to something greater, and then the Most High, He's done with you. All right, I'm done with this person. I gave you chances. I'm good. I pass. You know, and then you wander through this world, and you got judgment. You know, so that's sorry to say. You know, but let's read on.
Verse 7, for the earth which drinketh in the rain that cometh off upon it, and bringeth forth herbs, meat for them by whom it is dressed, receiveth blessings from Yahweh. But that which beareth thorns and briars is rejected, and is nigh unto cursing, who in is to be burned.
Right,
But
and he's dealing with the righteous and the wicked. The thorns and briars also represent the wicked. All right, they're going to be destroyed. Read on.
But, beloved, we are persuaded better things of you and things that accompany salvation, though we thus speak. Verse 10, for Yahweh is not unrighteous to forget your work and your labor of love, which ye have shown towards his name, in that ye have ministered to the saints and do minister. And we desire that every one of you to show the same diligence to the full assurance of hope unto the end, that ye be not slothful, but followers of them who through faith and patience inherit the promises.
Right, so the Most High is not going to forget your works. Unless you become wicked, then he's going to forget all your works. He don't care about them. You get that in Ezekiel chapter 3 and also Ezekiel chapter 33. The Most High, when you're righteous, yeah, he's going to remember all your works. But you become wicked, forget about it. It all got erased. It don't mean nothing no more. So go ahead, continue.
For when Yahweh made promise to Abraham, because he could swear by no greater, he swore by himself, saying, surely blessing I will bless thee, and multiplying I will multiply thee. And so, after he had patiently endured, he obtained the promise. For men verily swear by the greater, and an oath for confirmation is to them an end of all strife, wherein Yahweh willing more abundantly to show unto the heirs of promise the immutability of his counsel, confirmed it by an oath,
So dealing with everything he confirmed through Abraham. Read on.
that by two immutable things in which it was impossible for Yahweh to lie, we might have a strong consolation, who had fled for refuge, to lay hold upon the hope set before us, which hope we have as an anchor of soul, both sure and steadfast, and which entereth into into that within the evil.
The veil.
Veil. Whither the forerunner is for us entered, even Yahweh Shai made a high priest forever after the order of Melchizedek.
Right, after order of Melchizedek, because Christ was Melchizedek, so, or Melchizedek, all right? So Christ is also the God that you deal with in the Old Testament. That's Christ the whole time. We never dealt with the Most High. It's always been Christ, all right? So I can get that later on for you too, all right, for those that need it. We've only been dealing with Christ. We've never dealt with the Most High. It was always, everything was done through Christ, all right? Read on.
Verse chapter 7. For this Melchizedek, king of Salem.
So this also lets you know Melchizedek. So this king of Salem. Salem meaning peace. All right. So Salem, that's where you get Jerusalem. Jerusalem. So city of peace. That's who he was the king of. He was the king of Jerusalem. So when you read back in Genesis chapter 14, where Abraham, he was dealing with Melchizedek, he was dealing with Christ in Jerusalem. All right. That's all it's letting you know. He's dealing with Christ in Jerusalem. That's what it's dealing with. He's the king of Salem, the king of peace. He was in the city of peace. Read on.
Priest of the Most High, Yahweh, who met Abraham, returning from the slaughter of the kings, and blessed him, to whom also Abraham gave a tenth part of all, first being by interpretation kings of righteousness, and after that also kings of Salem, which is king of peace.
Right. Melchizedek, king of righteousness, and after that, king of Salem, king of peace, king of the city of peace. All right, Jerusalem, city of peace. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 3, without father, without mother.
I mean you, I mean, I mean the brother right here.
Oh,
You
yeah,
got
the
something to
hand.
say?
Like two things kept coming to mind, like spirit and then oil
The spirit and the what?
and oil.
the Spirit and oil.
Do they and I'm thinking like, do they correlate?
Say it again. You said as far as how do they relate unto this?
Which thinking about it's a lot, man. It's a lot. It's
Okay. Well, more so the thing,
Where-
brother, I'll holler at you after class, all right? So we'll chop it up and get more of those things in particular, all right? So we'll chop it up at after class. I'll deal with you more so to deal with more of those questions, all right?
okay.
All right. So go ahead, continue reading.
Verse 3, without father, without mother, without descent, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like unto the Son of Yahweh, abideth a priest continually.
But made like unto the Son of God, abideth the priest continually, because that's who he was. He was the Son of the Most High, even at that particular point in time. All right, read on.
Verse 4, now concerning how great this man was,
Now consider. Read.
Salakia. Now consider how great this man was, unto whom even the patriarch Abraham gave the tenth of the spoils. And verily, they that are of the sons of Levi, who receive the office of the priesthood, have a commandment to take tenths of the people according to
Take
the law.
tithes of the people.
The tithes of the people according to the law, that is of their brethren, though they come out of the loins of Abraham.
Right. So even though what you're dealing with is that it's dealing with the priesthood, so it's dealing with that. Originally dealing with Melchizedek, who was that high priest, but it was given unto the Levites. So in that they were the priesthood, and then it was pretty much given back unto Christ, which we're reading. Continue on. That's why it's going into this.
Verse
Read
6,
on.
but he who descent is not counted from then received tithes of Abraham, and blessed him that had the promises. And without all contradictions, the less is blessed of the better. And here men that die receive tithes, but there he receiveth them of whom it is witness that he liveth. And as I may say, and as I may so say, Levi also, who received tithes, paid tithes in Abraham.
Read. How did Levi pay tithes in Abraham? Read.
For he was yet in the loins of his father when Melchizedek met him.
Right. So an aspect where he was like, look, Levi still paid tithes through Abraham unto Melchizedek. He still gave him that honor. Read on.
If thereof perfection were,
If therefore,
perfection were by the Levitical priesthood, for under it the people received the law.
so if perfection was through the Levitical priesthood, for under the Levitical priesthood, the people received the law of sacrifice. Read on.
What further need was there that another priest should rise after the order of Melchizedek, and not be called after the order of Aaron? For the priesthood being changed, there is made of necessity a change also of the law.
So for the priesthood now being changed from the sons of Aaron, like we were reading earlier, to now Christ, there's also a change of the law. So whereas those sacrifices and oblations are no longer given. Read on.
Verse 12, for the priest, verse 13, for he of whom these things are spoken pertaining to another tribe, of which no man gave attendance at the altar.
Right, because Christ came through what tribe? He came through Judah, right? Which you didn't read anything pertaining unto the tribe of Judah being the priest. Read on.
Verse 14, for it is evident that our Lord sprang out of Judah, of which tribe Moses spake nothing concerning priesthood.
Right, because an aspect where I'm going to skip around a little bit with time, I'm going to go ahead and read chapter 8, because the aspect where the priesthood, the whole purpose was to allow atonement to be given unto the children of Israel. But also the other part of it that makes it to where the priesthood had to become null and void was due to the captivities, where, think about it, we don't even know who the priests are. We can't prove who the priests are. We don't know who they are. So now we're in a situation where we can't just put anyone in the priesthood. We can't prove who the priests are because the Most High is very specific on who was able to do that service. So an aspect where Christ, without there being a priesthood, there was no way for the people to make atonement for their sins because only the priests were able to do that. So if you can't make atonement, how can you be forgiven for your sins? That was also why it was necessary for Christ to come. That's why there also had to be a change that was made. Go ahead and read. Actually, read chapter 7, 27 and 28. We're going to skip around for sake of time.
Verse 28,
Close out at
27.
9:40.
Who needed
Continue.
not daily as those high priests to offer up sacrifice, first for his own sins and then for the people. For this he did once when he offered up himself.
Right. Christ did this once when he offered up himself. Read.
For the law maketh men high priests, which he have infirmity, but the word of the oath, which was since the law, maketh the Son who is consecrated for evermore.
Right. Read on.
Verse 1. Now of the things which we have spoken, this is the sum. We have such an high priest who is set on the right hand of the throne of the majesty in the heavens,
Which is Christ. Read.
a minister of the sanctuary and of the true tabernacle, which the Most High pitched, and not man. For every high priest is ordained to offer gifts and sacrifices, whereof it is of necessity
It was of what?
it is of necessity that man have
That this man
somewhat also to offer.
have somewhat also to offer, which was his life. Read on.
For if he were on earth, he should not be a priest, seeing that there is a priest that offer gifts according to the law, who serve unto the example.
Who serve unto what?
And the example
They were the example. Read.
and shadow of heavenly things.
And shadow of heavenly things. The shadow isn't the very thing itself, but an image, the form of what it should be or should look like. So read on. That's what the priesthood was. Read on.
As Moses was astonished of Yahweh,
Admonished.
admonished of Yahweh when he was about to make the tabernacle. For she said, he that thou make all things according to the pattern shown to thee in the mount. But now had he obtained a more excellent ministry, by how much also he is the mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises. For if the first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second.
Right. So in aspect, that first covenant, that first testament, it was faultless, then there wouldn't necessarily be need for a second one. Go ahead and jump to chapter 9 and start at verse 1.
Verse 1. Then verily the first covenant had also ordinance of divine service and a worldly sanctuary.
In a what sanctuary?
Worldly sanctuary.
So and that's where the first covenant had also ordinances of divine service. Like what? Read on.
For there was a tabernacle made, the first, wherein was the candlesticks and the table and the showbread, which is called the sanctuary.
So you had the sanctuary, the tabernacle, which within that, like I said, you had the candlestick, you had the table, you had the showbread. Read on.
And after the second veil, the tabernacle, which is called the holiest of all, which had the golden censer and the ark of the covenant overlaid round about the gold, where was the golden pot that had manna and Aaron's rod that budded, and the table of the covenant. And over it the cherubims of glory shadowing and mercy seat, of which cannot now speak particularly. Verse 6. Now when these things were thus ordained, the priest went always into the priest went always into the first tabernacle, accompanying the service of Yahweh.
So this was always the priest's duty to do these things. Read on.
Verse 7. But into the second went the high priest alone once every year, not without blood, which he offered for himself and for the errors of the people. The Holy Spirit, this signifying that the way into the holiest of all all was not yet made manifest, while as the first tabernacle was yet standing, which was a figure.
Which was the what?
Which was a figure.
Read.
For the time then present, in which were offered both gifts and sacrifices, that could not make him that did the service perfect, and pertaining to the conscience,
Read on.
which stood only
Because
in
all
the-
these things couldn't make you perfect. Read.
which stood only in meats and drinks, and divers washing and carnal ordinances imposed on them until the time of reformation.
Or until the time of Christ. So even though these things were carnal ordinances, these were still commandments by the Most High, all right? Because some people take that and feel like, oh, well, fringes is a carnal ordinance, brother. You ain't got to do that. The Most High never made any alterations to that particular law. That's why we're going into this as far as what changed. The priesthood is what changed. The sacrificial laws are what changed. The oblations and the offerings and things we give on the Sabbath offerings and all these offerings for sin and atonement and all different meat, that was what changed. Read on.
Verse 11, but Yahushua been come and high priest of good things to come by a greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made with hands, that is to say, not of this building, neither by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood.
By his what?
His own blood, he entered in once in the holy place, having obtained eternal redemption for us.
That's it. He entered in once. Skip down and read verse 15.
Verse 15, and for this cause he is the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death, for the redemption of the transgression that were under the first testament, they which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance.
Right, because according to the latter, we technically all should have been put to death. So, but now, thanks to Christ, we all have a chance of salvation. Skip down and read verse 18.
Verse 18, whereupon neither the first testament was dedicated without blood.
Why? Read on.
For when Moses had spoken every precept to all the people according to the law, he took the blood of calves and of goats with water and scarlet wood and hyssop, and sprinkled both the book and all the people, saying, this is the blood of the testament which Yahweh had enjoined unto you. Moreover, he sprinkled with blood both the tabernacle and all the vessels of the ministry. And almost all things are by the law purged with blood.
So everything is purged with blood, all right? There has to be blood. That's how the Most High works. Read.
And without shedding of blood is no remission.
That's the key thing. Without that shedding of blood, there is no remission. There is no forgiveness of sins. There has to be that forgiveness of sins. So before the animal, Most High sent Christ, and Christ said, look, even though I didn't have to do this at first, because remember, Christ was with the Most High. He was Melchizedek. He was there. But he said, look, I got to come in the flesh and fulfill this so that my people have a chance to get right and they can come back into the fold. So now I'm going to put myself in a situation, be subject unto temptation like you, trials and errors like you, and then get tortured and put to death for you. So that way, look, you got a chance to get it right back now with the Father. All right. That's what he did. Read on.
Verse 23, it was therefore necessary that the patterns of things.
It was what?
Necessary that
Read.
the patterns of things in the heavens should be purified with these, but the heavenly things themselves with better sacrifices than these. For
Read on.
Yahushua is not entered into the holy place made with hands, which are the figure of the truth.
See, all those things were the figure and had to be made the exact way of how the Most High wanted to be made, like it is in heaven. Read on.
But into heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of Yahweh for us.
Now skip down to chapter 10. We're going to read chapter 10. This will be the last chapter we're going to read. Continue.
Verse
chapter
1,
10, verse 1.
For the law having a shadow of good things to come, and not very image of the things, can never with those sacrifices which they offer year by year continually make the comers thereunto perfect.
Why? Read.
For then would they not have ceased to be offered.
So if those sacrifices could make you perfect, how come you wouldn't just get a point? All right, I made the sacrifice. Okay, that's the last one. We good. We done. We straight. That's the last one. Read on.
Because that the worshipers once purged should have had no more conscience of sin.
And that's what the Most High wants. He doesn't even want sin to be on your mind. He doesn't want you dwelling on it. Read on.
Verse 3, but in those sacrifices there is a remembrance again made of sin every year. For
That's
it-
because of Day of Atonement. You have to bring those sacrifices again. Every year you have to bring those sacrifices. Read on.
For it is not possible that the blood of bulls and of goats should take away sin,
So the blood of bulls and goats can't take away sins. Read on verse 6.
wherefore, when he coming into the world, he
Verse
said,
6.
Salakia, in burnt offerings and sacrifices for sin thou hast had no pleasure. Then
Right. He didn't have pleasure in those burnt offerings or sacrifices for sin. Read on in verse 9.
Verse 9, then said he, Lo, I come to do thy will, O Father. He take away the first, that he may establish the second,
Read verse 10.
by the which will we are sanctified
Sanctified meaning cleansed. Read.
through the offerings of the body of Yahweh Shai once for all.
Once for all. That's it. Once for all. That's it. Christ died one time, not many times. One time. So you got one shot. This is your last shot to get it right. Ain't no redos. You already had enough redos and retries. This is your last shot to get it right. So read verse 18.
Verse 18, now where remission of these is, there is no more offering for sin.
Meaning there's no longer any more sacrifice for sin. Every sin you do from here on out goes on your back. It goes on your record. He said, look, I'm done with forgiving you. This is it. It's engraved on you now. This is held against you for judgment. Everything you do, this one's held against you, held against you, held against you, held against you. Give verse 26.
26, for if we sin willfully after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sins.
So that's it. That's what Christ said. Look, if you sin willfully now, knowing that ain't what you should be doing, oh, that goes in your back. There's no more sacrifice or atonement for that. That's it. You know, that is it. So it's an aspect where that's where Christ isn't playing anymore. You know, it's not a game. He said, look, the games is over. I'm done playing. Now one says, well, what if I didn't really get this in the full way like I'm getting it now? What for those that really didn't get it? Oh, they got judgment coming to them. I mean, that's it. They got judgment. At the end of the day, they're still going to get this word. That's what we go out and teach. It don't matter if they're on the bus. Hey, you got to repent. That's all they heard. Hey, they heard it. The Most High, he ain't playing games anymore. You know, not everyone's going to get the ability to fully hear every single thing like you do. Some of them, it might just been a flyer. What's this? And I don't care about that. You got it. You looked at it. You may not even fully read it. You looked at it. You threw it away. That's it. It's on you now. So Most High going to account. Well, why didn't you keep it at this point in time? Why didn't you do this? You know, he's going to hold you accountable. Get Proverbs 21 and 3. Make these last ones short. Get Proverbs 21 and 3.
Proverbs 21, verse 3.
Yeah, get Proverbs 21 and 3.
Verse 3, to do justice and judgment is more acceptable to the Most High than sacrifice.
That's what the Most High wants, to do justice and judgment. Let me get Psalm chapter 51 real quick. Read some real quick. Psalm chapter 51. Read the whole chapter on your own, but we're going to jump around. Get Psalm chapter 51, verse 2 and 3, because this is what repentance, true repentance is all about, which our forefathers understood. Get Psalm chapter 51, verse 2 and 3.
Verse 2, wash me thoroughly for my iniquity and cleanse me from my sin.
So cleanse me from my sin, wash me from my iniquity. How? Read on.
Verse 3, for I acknowledge my transgressions and my sin is ever before me.
I acknowledge what it is that I did wrong, and I'm going to get right, sincerely. All right? Skip down in verse 10.
Verse 10, create in me a cleansed heart, O Yahweh, and renew a right spirit within me.
That's what we want, a new spirit, a new heart. Skip down to read verse 16 through 19.
Verse 16, for thou desires not sacrifice, else would I give it.
The Most High, he doesn't want sacrifice. That's never what he wanted. Read on.
Thou delightest not in burnt offerings. The sacrifices of Yahweh are broken spirits, a broken and a contrite heart.
A contrite heart, that means a remorseful heart. I'm actually sorry for what it is that I did wrong. That's where the Most High, knowing your heart in that regard, that's when he's going to make the choice. Look, man, I can forgive you for that. You know, because I see you sincerely apologize. You humbled yourself. But that's when the Most High, he can make that call. It's like for anyone. I can't make the call whether, man, if I do this for the Most High, forgive me. I'm not the Most High. I can only say what saith the law. That's it. You know, the Most High, he got to decide whether or not he going to forgive you for that. You know, so that's a different story. Read on.
O God, thou wilt not despise.
Read verse 19.
Verse 19, then shalt thou be pleased with the sacrifices of righteousness.
Then that's when the Most High will be pleased with the sacrifices of righteousness. Once you're doing it in sincerity, going back to Cain and Abel. Get this last one and close out with this. Romans 12:1. Most High is looking for sincerity.
Romans chapter 12, verse 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Yahweh, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto Yahweh, which is your reasonable service.
That's the sacrifice he's looking for. Presenting you, yourself, your body, your mind, your spirit, your discipline, your diligence. He said, look, that's the sacrifice that you're giving now. That's what you're doing. And that's your reasonable service. All right. So with that, that concludes, this particular lesson. With that pretty much being said, hope you enjoyed it. And with that, we'll go ahead and we'll close out. Any questions? I'll get afterwards. All right. So everyone with questions,